welcome to my Scrappin' Space. I'm Joni Martin. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator located in Southwest Wisconsin. And today I'm going to show you how to turn a standard composition book into a lovely journal. Thanks for watching. Today I'm going to show you how to take a standard composition book and turn it into a lovely gift that looks something like this. So to begin with, you're going to need print paper. We all have that, paper crafters, don't we? You need two pieces that are cut 7.5 by 10.5, and one piece which is a coordinating print for your spine. So for the front and the back, it needs to be 7.5 by 10.5, and for the spine, for this area right here, it needs to be 2 1/8 by 10, and then you need a piece of ribbon 13 inches. Adhesives really make the difference as you're doing this project, and I use tear and tape, a multi-purpose glue, think of a liquid glue, and glue dots. So let's get started and I'll show you how I do this. I rarely make one of these at a time. I usually do at least 2 or 3. It lets the glue set between steps. So I'm going to make 2 of them in the short time we do this video today. It really is that easy. So the first thing I'm going to do is grab my glue dots, and I'm going to put a glue dot at each corner. And I have found, I'm going to move this up a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. I have found that that's the hardest place to adhere your paper. Like, it just wants to pull up in that corner. And by putting a glue dot in that corner, it kind of just reminds it what it's supposed to do. Then this is my multi-purpose glue. I want to be generous without getting carried away, because what I don't want it to do is kind of go over the edge and into the paper. And I'll show you how I check for that. So I just get it around the sides and then through the center. You want to pay attention. My paper has a direction. It goes up and down, so I don't want to put it on my notebook upside down. I'm going to start by lining it against that black spine. Kind of just like pushing it there. You'll notice it's bigger than my notebook. We need that. Then I'm going to push it in each corner, and then if you watched my videos before, you know that I have arthritis in my hands, and I have great hand days, good hand days, and not so good. And this helps me with pressure to even out, push. I want to push and make sure that glue is flat. What I don't want to get is like a pocket of glue where it pops up. You just want it to be really flat. So this helps with that. And then I'm going to check the inside. What I don't want to see is any glue on the outside here, because otherwise it will catch on your paper. All right. And we're going to just repeat that process because we're going to let that set a second before we move to the back and trim. So again, glue dots in each corner. These are a really popular item at my market, at the farmer's market in the summer, or at holiday vendor shows. And they also make a great gift. The ones with the Christmas themed paper would be fun to even just keep your notes from Christmas to Christmas of things or lists that you want. And sometimes someone wants, my previous video showed you how to make the mini ones like this, but sometimes you want a larger one. And the fact this has a ribbon also adds a touch to it. There we go. So I'm going to make sure it's tight on the side and tight in the corner, and grab my eraser. And we're going to give that, because I'm using green glue, it didn't quite hit here, and I can just push that back to where I want it. We're going to set that one aside and come back to our original one. Next, we need to trim. And you always see me use the Stampin' Up! Paper snips, which I love. But when you want a smooth line, the fewer cuts you can make, the smoother it will be. So I'm going to grab a bigger scissors that I just happen to have on my craft table. So I want to take, longer cuts like that. And then I'm just going to kind of round that corner and keep going. Just like so. There we go. And keep going. Just around. There's nothing too hard about this. It just does require a little patience, because I found the hard way that if I don't give that green glue time to set up, everything moves and it's not pretty. Now we're just going to repeat on the back what we did on the front. This is a great use if you find yourself with some extra random papers, like, oh, I loved 3 of the prints in that paper pack, but not the other one. That extra print may be really good for a notebook. And I just grabbed some glue dots inadvertently on my hands. Let me get them off of there. Talking to you and not paying attention to what I'm doing here. There. And oftentimes, sometimes I've found prints that just don't really work in my card making, but they're great for journals. So it's nice to have paper find a home and find its purpose, isn't it? Okay, now I got really carried away with glue there, and that's going to come out. So we're going to just work that into the rest of the notebook because I don't want it to goop out to the side. So this is when I use the other end of my glue bottle and just grab that larger end and kind of pull that away from the side. There we go. And again, making sure my print is going the right way, I'm going to set it up tight against here. Grab my eraser. So by the end of this, you're going to know how to make them because you get to see me do it twice. But that's okay. And you have to have it for the spine. You want a coordinating print, and I could have used what's on the back of this paper. That would work really well. I just ended up grabbing something else, but sometimes that's the easiest thing to do. The back side often coordinates, or the one side will coordinate with the other. I'm not sure one is really a front or a back in terms of a print paper, but as you can see, this doesn't really take that long. We're going to trim it just like so. There we go. Then, now I bet you can tell me the directions. Glue dot, and glue. That's all there is to it. Just taking our time to make sure it's lined up correctly. So, glue dot in the corner. And I didn't used to do this glue dot step, but I did find it really helps make sure that my papers don't peel up in that corner. And then around the outside, kind of going around that glue dot. And then a little bit on the inside. Start by lining up at the spine, making sure your print is going the right way. Oftentimes you have a print that doesn't have a direction. That makes it a little easier. There we go. And then I'm going to grab my eraser and make sure I have a nice tight. I'm going to check that I don't have glue coming out either side. Look at that. We're doing great today. I don't. Okay. So now let's talk about the spine. I'm first going to trim the back. And for this paper, I did use the other side for my spine. You'll find on that tree paper I didn't, but this is such a pretty paper. And I find that, again, this project uses up a lot of paper scraps, like those random sheets. But it is really popular, and I have learned I'm never going to know what people are going to pick for a notebook. Sometimes a notebook I put together just like I need to use up this paper is a favorite. And sometimes a notebook where I almost don't want to use the paper, I love it so much, doesn't always sell at market. So you just never know. Okay, so then we need the ribbon. And I usually grab coordinating ribbon. And for this one, I'm using this really pretty soft succulent. Isn't that great? At one end, I'm going to cut at an angle, and at the other end, flat. And I'm going to attach it here. And to attach it, I'm going to start with a little green glue. Like so. But that doesn't always want to stay. So what you want to do then is, let's stand this up. Then you're going to grab your tear and tape. And one, it's security that your ribbon's not going to come out. But two, it's just really holding it in place while that green glue dries. So that's going to go like that. And then I'm going to do it again, crisscross. Like so. Okay, so I have my ribbon. Now, along here, I'm going to take tear and tape. This binding fabric is a lot harder to get paper to adhere to it. So I'll show you what we do. We first start by going right up this line and catching both sides of it. Like just not on the black, but also on there. because the paper's helping it adhere. This is kind of a plastic coating, and it doesn't always want to stick to it. There we go. I'm using this side of the paper this time for the spine. I'm going to peel off this. And when I did the mini notebooks, I showed you how I used my grid paper to make sure my spine went on straight. I'm going to show you that trick again. I'm going to line up where I want the paper edge to be on that black, and then I'm going to push this. So for my larger notebooks, it's 3/4 of an inch. So I have 3 squares on each side, and I want my spine to land on this black line, and then I'll know it will be straight. Now the other trick with doing the larger one, because I have the ribbon, I want to catch it just at the top. I'm only going to trim the bottom. So I'm catching it there and there. What I'm talking about is I have overhang here that I'll trim off even. Here I want it to land even because I'd have to cut around that ribbon otherwise. So this is a couple more steps than when we do the, I'm going to turn so you can see where I'm working from here. When we did the mini ones. The mini ones are great. They just go together quicker, and if you were doing this with kids, I would do the mini ones. There we go. Now we're going to grab this green glue again because we want to make sure our spine's going to adhere. So I'm just going to kind of sneak some down in there, along the back, and along here. It doesn't need a lot, but occasionally I've had this tear and tape come up from the spine, and this assures that the spine's not going to, because again, it doesn't like to stick to that black. Then we're going to pull this up. And then, just like I did with the minis, I'm going to lay this down and let that kind of catch. It almost forms like a tight edge there. Then use your strength and pull it tight all the way around. Just like that. There we go. All you have left to do now is trim the edge. So we're going to trim from the bottom of the spine equal with the notebook. And just like that, we have gone from this to this. Isn't that pretty? And of course, off camera, I will get this one finished too. But it's just when you're gluing, it's nice to have something else while you're getting it set up. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. If what you're watching is helpful and you enjoy it, subscribe. And I'd really appreciate a share if you have some other paper crafting friends who you think might like my YouTube videos. Like I said, my previous video was to cover the mini ones, and I'll put that link along with a blog that has more directions underneath. So if you want that, you also can access that. So until next time, take care, stay well, and keep creating. It's good for you.